Welcome, everybody. I'm Marc David, founder of the Institute for the Psychology of Eating. Here we are in the Psychology of Eating podcast, and I'm with Juliana today. Welcome, Juliana.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
I'm glad we're here. Where are you geographically, or where are you from?
I'm from Brazil originally, but I'm now in Germany, in the city of Bonn, the former capital of Germany.
That must be a fascinating change.
It was, I can tell you.
Well, I'm glad we're doing this. And one of my favorite questions to ask is if you can wave your magic wand and have whatever you wanted with food and body, what would that be for you?
Peace of mind around food, be able to enjoy it without thinking about it.
So what does it look like, or what does it look like when you don't have peace of mind around food? How does that show up for you?
It's like my everyday for many years. I wake up thinking what I'm going to have for breakfast, if I should have breakfast or not. Then I think about lunch, what I'm allowed or not allowed to eat. And the same goes for every meal in the day. And if I eat something that I consider not to be adequate enough, then I have guilt around it. And then I plan the next day. So it's a constant worry about what I should or not be eating and the consequences it has in my body.
Understood. So are you looking to lose weight?
Yes.
How much weight would you like to lose?
From 8 to 10 kilos.
Mm-hmm. And when would have been the last time that you were at your desired weight?
For a very brief period, when I was around 15, that was the only time I was in a weight that I actually enjoyed, being myself on that weight. Mm-hmm. The rest of my life, never.
How old are you now?
I'm 38.
38. So what age do you think you started being aware that, I'm noticing how much food I eat, I'm wanting to control my eating so I can lose the weight I want to lose? How old were you?
It was very early in my childhood. I would say around 6, 7 years old. I was a little bit of a chubby child, and my parents actually brought to my attention that, other family members were making fun of me as well, the way I eat, the way I looked. And my parents tried to put me on diets. And then since that age, I started being very self-conscious around food and around my weight and image.
Mm-hmm. And do you have times when you feel like I'm enjoying food, I enjoy being an eater?
Yes. So I have my moments of binging, and they are very enjoyable, but They always come with guilt immediately after. So the moment of enjoyment is really only on that moment or on planning my binging moments, but then afterwards I have a lot of guilt.
Mm-hmm. And have you, in recent years, gone on like traditional diets where you try to eat low calorie or you try to follow a certain kind of plan? Have you done things like that?
In numerous times. I cannot even count how many times in a year. Yeah, a lot. Yeah, a lot of attempts to diet. And
clearly hasn't worked for you.
No, it hasn't. So in the past, I could at least follow a diet for a short period of time. And then I would, of course, go back to my normal eating habits. But recently, not even 2 days, I cannot follow anything. I already give up.
Mm-hmm. Got it. So that's a conundrum that you're in, because on the one hand, you don't like to follow a specific kind of weight loss diet, which is understandable. But you want to lose weight. And it sounds like what happens is you just end up kind of constantly being aware of what you ate, what you didn't eat, what you should eat, shouldn't eat, the guilt. And in a sense, it's all where it all comes from is I don't like where my weight is at.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
So technically, if you were at the weight that you wanted to be at, it's seemingly, or let me phrase this as a question. If you imagine that you reach the weight that you want to be, what do you think is going to happen in terms of your internal world and your experience of food?
I think I would be less concerned about food. I would still want to make healthier choices because I learned through the years about healthier choices around food, and I still want to make them, but I would not be so concerned about right and wrong, the amounts, and restricting myself so much. And I would probably be focused on other activities and not only thinking about food. Mm-hmm. So that's what I think it would happen.
Okay. Are you in a relationship?
No.
Mm-hmm. How do you feel about your weight and when it comes to being in relationship?
Mm-hmm. I am extremely self-conscious about my body. So even for dressing clothes that I would like to dress, I don't dress them simply. And in a relationship, it's the same. I still feel embarrassed in front of others because of the weight.
So does your weight stop you from dating, do you think, or looking for a relationship or being in a relationship?
Mm-hmm. It may not stop me completely, but it does, prevent me from perhaps allowing myself to like the ones I really like, and thinking that I'm less, and then choosing people that I would probably, if I would be completely good with my self-esteem and my body, perhaps I'll choose differently.
Mm-hmm. So in your ideal world, where would you be at in the relationship universe? Mm-hmm. Would you be in a relationship? Would you be married? Would you have a family? Like what would be your dream?
I would like to be in a relationship, not exactly with a family, because I moved away from my country and I am still enjoying exploring different countries. So I would like to have a partner that is also able to accompany me on this kind of life.
Mm-hmm. Do you notice a difference around, I want to say, body, just people in relationship to their body and their weight and their fitness relative to Brazil and Germany?
Absolutely. It's a tremendous difference.
How would you describe?
Yeah. So in Brazil, we have this culture of image in many ways, right? In our media, it's all about beautiful people, well-groomed, well-dressed. When you meet someone, you make comments about their appearance. It's all about the fitness industry as well, and exercising and etc. And in Germany, I think people are more relaxed around that. There are, of course, some people that are in the same way, but in general, they are more relaxed. They are not mentioning so much about your appearance. And I think they're less putting less value to image than in Brazil. Mm-hmm. That's my perception.
Yeah, that's what I would have guessed, knowing what little I know about both cultures. So what an interesting position you find yourself in, because you come from a culture that particularly is very body focused and very beauty focused. So yes, in a certain way, that's been your upbringing. Not only was it, made aware to you and your family at a young age, like, hey, you need to lose weight, you need to look a certain way. But you grew up in a culture that really emphasized, here's how you have to be, mm-hmm. which is going to emphasize a lot of comparison.
A lot.
And comparison is a tough one. Comparison is just, it's the devil. It just we never come out on top, because there's always going to be somebody younger, more this, more that, richer, more beautiful, more handsome, whatever it is. I really want to get right to what I feel sort of the path is for you to get where you want to go. And I would love to just lay out what I think is happening, okay, and how to undo it for you. So a cultural upbringing where you have to look a certain way. So your mind has been conditioned. Here's what you have to be. Here's what you have to look like in order for you to be acceptable. Now, what happens is the culture gives you that message, people around you give you that message, the media is giving you that message, and then we internalize it. And then you invent a number. So I'm sure nobody ever said to you, Juliana, you have to weigh this specific amount. And when you get to this specific amount, we will love you. We will approve of you. We will all say you're hot and you're going to have all the goodies. So nobody ever gave you the number. I'm going to guess you invented the number.
That's right.
Yeah. So we invent a number, and then, and I'm saying we because so many people do this. This is how we're taught worldwide by the world. We're taught to invent a number, and then we kind of end up worshiping that number. It sort of becomes a religion. You put the number up on the pedestal, and we think to ourselves, when I hit that number, it's all going to be good. I'm going to relax. I'm going to be happy. I'm going to just get the goodies that I want. I'm going to love myself. Other people are going to love me more. And for you, you're going to also feel perhaps more that you can, be dating the people that you want to date, or be involved with the people you want to involve with because you look a certain way. Mm-hmm. And the food worry that you experience comes from this one simple thing. You need to lose weight in order to be happy, in order to be acceptable, mm-hmm. in order for you to accept you, in order for what you think the world needs to accept you, you have to lose a certain amount of weight. So literally you're going to wake up every day, and that's the pressure. Yes. And the part of you that resists dieting, to me, is not a lazy part. There's nothing wrong with that part. It might have a little wisdom to it. Because in a strange way, weight loss dieting is not natural to us. What's natural is that we're eaters. You're hungry, you eat. You eat, you get full, you stop eating. So there's a certain naturalness to it. Dieting, because I want to shapeshift my body, is a whole different kind of practice, and there's nothing wrong with it. It's totally fine. I am happy for anybody who wishes to change or reshape their body. Like, great, that's your preference. Go for it. And it becomes problematic when it is actually stopping us from living our life. Mm-hmm. So right now, you can't really be the real Juliana until you lose X amount of kilos. That's kind of the setup. Mm-hmm. But every day there's nothing really happening to advance you forward, because you've had a long time of experience of dieting not really getting you where you want to go. At the same time, I think what's happening is that there's a place where, and this is for so many people, and I especially notice this for women, where you will think that the outside world is perceiving you and judging you the same way you perceive you and you judge you. So if you come to the conclusion, this is what I look like, I do not deserve the man I want, or the relationship I want, or the love I want, or the attention I want, because this has too much fat on it. If that's what you think, you're going to think other people are thinking that. They're going to look at you and go, oh no, I would date her, but only if she lost, 8 more kilos or whatever it is. And I just want to tell you, from male universe, most guys don't think that way. You will, I think in the course of my lifetime, I'm in my 60s, I think might have heard at the most a handful of guys make the comment of, oh, I would like her if she was 15 pounds less. Okay. So what I want to say is that I almost want to focus a little bit on relationship with you, because I have a feeling that on some level that's important for you. And I don't want to see you limit yourself because you believe that in order for you to be loved or to feel lovable or for somebody to be drawn to you, you have to lose a certain amount of pounds. In a way, think about that for a moment. Would you want a guy who looks at you and says, no, I'm not going to date her until she loses 15 kilos, and then you lose the weight, and then all of a sudden that guy's interested in you?
No, I would not want that.
You won't want
Definitely
him.
not. No.
No. You want the guy who meets you and looks at you and goes, that's what I'm interested in.
Mm-hmm.
That's who I want to date. That's who I want to get to know. And there's nothing in the way there. Because if you're putting out the message to the world that I'm only lovable if I lose a certain amount of weight, you're basically advertising for a shallow person to come your way. And that's not who you are. You're not a shallow person. But you've been taught by the world that this is how you're going to find love. This is how you're going to find love for yourself or love from the outside. And you deserve better than that, is really what I want to say. And only you can change that by beginning to really do an honest inventory of, here's me, here's Juliana, here's how I've been conditioned. It's not your fault. I'm in this conversations like this so many times because this is the world that we live in. And it takes a lot of work. It takes a lot of consciousness. It takes effort to undo conditioning that we know isn't good for us. And at the same time, those beliefs are so strong that we think they're fact. I know there's the part of your brain that thinks it's factual, that if you lose weight, you're definitely going to love yourself better, but the outside world is going to start to show up and be more attracted to you. Mm-hmm. And all I want to tell you is it's not true. You want the kind of person who just, again, looks at you and says, that's what I want. And if you lose weight, great. If you gain it, fine. You're still going to be loved. If you stay this way forever, you're still going to be loved. I think to invite in that kind of person requires that we begin to be that kind of person for ourselves.
Yeah, that's profound. Really touching, yes. And you said so many really touching things, starting with the comparison. That's really something very big that started from early ages as well, looking at magazines and how the beautiful people, according to our media, are shown in those media and nowadays everywhere on social media as well. And I compare myself a lot of times, and I always think that someone would only be interested in me for a while. And if I fit certain conditions, and then I would lose interest because there is someone better than me, and there will always be someone better in some way. And I think this lack of acceptance is definitely in myself, and I see the world in that way. Like you said everything.
Yeah, and it takes first realizing, oh, that's how I'm seeing the world. That's how the world has taught me. And a big part of our work of being a human being, I think, is not so much to learn new things, but oftentimes to unlearn things. So, yeah, we're always learning more about ourselves, about life, about the world, but there's also a lot that we have to unlearn. And I think this is a place where you're poised and ready to unlearn. I think it's very serendipitous that you're living in Germany right now and you can be out of the kind of culture that doesn't support the mindset that you want to be in.
That's so true.
And again, I wish to say that I know you're not interested in being in relationship with a person who's going to weigh you every day. And if it goes up, you're going to get criticized and critiqued. And if it goes down, you're going to get, a big hug. And no. And again, most men are not like that. And the ones that are like that, you just cross them off your list.
I don't want them, not at all. Yeah.
You really don't want them. And I think what we often forget to do is really notice, when you're walking around town, when you're walking around the city, and when you're at, shopping, when you're in a mall, when you're at the airport, just look at couples and look at the configurations of different shapes, different sizes. Just all different kinds of human beings are matched with all different kinds of human beings. There's a place where truly your body weight doesn't matter to the outside world. Like, people are not assessing you by your weight. People are assessing you the way they assess you. Somebody who wants a meaningful connection or a meaningful relationship, they're assessing you by, meaningful measures. Is she loving? Is she kind? Is she generous? Is she interesting? Is she spiritual? Is she really, whatever people care about? So I would be interested for you to take a break from weight loss. And this is going to be hard for you, I think.
Yes.
It's going to be very hard. So let me just lay out the concept for a second. The concept is, I don't know if you've ever had the experience called, let's just be Juliana for a while. And this is me and this is my body. And I'm not going to try to change it.
I never tried that. It's incredible, but I never did. Yeah.
Yeah, it's literally like taking a vacation. It's literally like taking a week off from work, and this is what it's like to not work. What do? Do I walk? Do I exercise? Do I run? Do I jump? Do I sleep? You just find a new flow. And you've really not have had the experience as an adult of, you wake up in the morning and this is me and this is my body and I don't need to change it. Now, I'm not saying you should never want to change your body. I'm not saying that at all. I'm not saying you should never, ever want to get back to losing weight. And I think it's important for you to have the experience called, let's feel what it feels like to take a couple of months and just be Juliana and take weight loss just off of the table. Give it a vacation.
Okay.
You could always return to it. And get to know yourself and see what happens. There's a part of it that's going to be very hard. You're going to resist it because there's the old belief called, but, I'm not going to be loved. I'm not going to be accepted. I'm not going to love myself. And then the practice of giving weight loss a vacation becomes, okay, what do I do today that demonstrates that, I'm okay with me. I accept me. How can I be in my body today so that instead of thinking about my body, I'm more just in it? Meaning, you go walk, you go exercise, you take a dance class, you take a yoga class, you do your beauty care, and doing that all with the attitude that you're just loving on your body without trying to change it. I think there's just been this message for so long that you're not good enough unless you change this. that it's kind of taken over for you.
Yes. It runs automatically.
Yes. And I know I'm sitting over here and I'm thinking, you don't need to lose any weight for me to respect you anymore, for me to honor you anymore. It's you're you, and the world wants to know you. The world isn't interested in knowing your weight. The world wants Juliana and wants you to give your gifts and show up as you are. And once again, anyone who is shallow enough to eliminate you from their world because they don't approve of how you look, good. Good thing. I thank them because we're not interested in that.
Right.
That's a shallow human being. But they're also shallow because that's how they've been taught and that's how they've been conditioned. And I think there's a world full of people who are happy to know you. And once again, don't care about your weight. So going on a vacation, 2-month vacation from weight loss is your opportunity. It's almost like a personal growth workshop. There's going to be times when it's really hard and it's unnatural because you're trying to break a habit. So so there's all different kinds of habits. People can have the habit of chain smoking. People can have the habit of, constantly going to the refrigerator whenever I'm feeling stressed. And what's happening is that because you're a human being, food for you makes you feel good. Food makes you feel good. Food makes every human being feel good. There is not a single human being that hasn't had a feel-good experience with food. And it starts when you're an infant. So we are programmed, conditioned, genetically wired to love food. Food equals pleasure. Food equals pleasure chemistry. You have all kinds of taste buds on your tongue that are designed to give you pleasure from food. So we're built to receive pleasure from food because food helps us survive. And the things that help us survive are pleasurable. Eating is pleasurable. If eating was painful, you wouldn't want to do it. So what happens is that food gives you pleasure, but at the same time, there's a part of you that thinks food is the enemy because food is what makes you fat or food is what keeps the weight on and food is what stops you from losing weight. So then all this stress builds up because I'm not losing weight. I'm not getting where I want to go. I don't want to diet. But I'm not going to be loved. I'm not going to love myself. Or I'm not going to be loved by someone else if I don't lose weight. So all the stress builds up. That's a stressor.
A lot, yes.
And then how do we relieve stress? We eat. So you turn to the very thing that you think is the enemy because we're building up stress about that very thing. So that's why we have to take a step back and go, okay, how am I creating or how am I helping continue this impossible conundrum that I've learned, which is resist food, control yourself, don't eat so you can lose weight. But then that process is stressful. And in order to relieve stress, we go to our favorite stress reliever, which is food. And then we feel guilty for eating the food. So that's why I want to have you have the experience of taking weight loss off the table so you can begin to let all those conversations just become more of a whisper and begin to explore for yourself, who am I? Who is Juliana without this conversation going on all the time? Where would all your energy?
That's big, yes.
And that's a worthy exploration. It's worthy and it's beautiful and it's, I think, 100% necessary. Because you're to me, in a lot of ways, you're at the perfect age to turn this around. Because once we're in our mid 30s, I think we have more ability to step back and look at ourselves like never before, and to notice our conditioning and to see, okay, I don't want to live my life with the same beliefs and conditioning that have been holding me back since I was young. And at your age, at mid-30s, I think we have the soul power, the spiritual power, the emotional fortitude to look in the mirror and say, yeah, these ways of thinking and believing are holding me back. They're making me unhappy. And yeah, it's going to take work to unwind that, but it's good work.
It's necessary work, as you said, yes.
Yes. Do you have people in your social circle that would be of support in this kind of conversation for you? Like, do you have friends you can share these things with? Like, hey, just had a conversation in a podcast with this guy. Here's what he suggested. Do you have people you can turn to just to get a little cheerleading and feel good about yourself?
Yes, absolutely. I have some.
I think it's important. I think it's important to be able to let the people who care about you know that this is a place where I'm doing work on myself. So you don't feel isolated in it. And you have a friend you can call up and say, hey, having a hard time today. I'm really trying to get off the weight loss train for a few months. And it's so hard. Sometimes we just need to say that, or just need to have people listen to us. So I think that you enrolling support from the people close to you is a way for you to say, hey, to the people that matter to you, here's what I'm up to, here's what I'm doing, and here's where I need a little extra love.
Yes, I think it's important to count on those people or some sort of support system, because as you said, like, I'm very excited to try this, but at the same time, I already feel the resistance. It's like, how do I even do that? I've never done that before. Will I be able to do that? So all those conflicting thoughts coming to mind. So
yes, if you can move from one country to another, you can do this.
True.
If you can have a job where you show up to work every day, you can do this. And it's true. You have never done it before. And I will tell you it's doable. I will tell you I've watched hundreds, if not thousands, of people do the same thing and have really beautiful openings and breakthroughs and epiphanies and success, because what's awaiting you is a big deep breath, a relaxation, and letting go. And it's letting go of the voices from the past that were saying, you're not good enough. You have to do this. You have to do that. You have to look a certain way. And then, well, okay, I will do these things so all you big people love me and all you big people will approve of me. And then we take that into our adulthood. Oh, so now maybe you're not trying to impress your family, but now it's trying to impress these invisible people out there, the men, whoever, or you're comparing yourself to others and think, I got to compete with them. And there's no competition here. You're not in competition. I find it interesting how I see this less with men around weight. I see it more with women. Women will get very competitive with each other around weight. And it'll even if it's not external, it'll be internal. So the woman who can have the most slender body wins. She's the winner. And you have to extract yourself from that world, from that way of thinking. you are in competition with nobody. There's no competition. You're you. What are we competing against? The partner, the man, the husband, the boyfriend, who's ever right for you, that person's right for you and you're right for them. You're not competing with anybody. How you doing, Juliana?
I'm doing very well, and it's so profound, everything that you're saying, and really so touching. It's like, or you see inside me things that are, like really deep, and it's impressive what you're saying. It's really, really very relevant to me. And I want to get to that way of thinking that I am me. There is no comparison, one weight or anything else, and be comfortable with who I am, because it is a lot of stress to wake up and go to bed every day thinking that I'm not good enough, that I'm not perfect as I should be. And it's really stressful.
Yes. So what you're doing is you're literally changing an internal conversation that you're having in your head. So there's an ongoing conversation between you, and it's a constant conversation. And we're all in conversation with ourselves, and it's just a question of what are we saying? So if I'm constantly saying to myself, you're not good enough, your body's not good enough, and if I'm not good enough and my body's not good enough, then my life is not good enough, then ouch, that's hard. It's Imagine if you had a partner and every day you woke up and the first thing in the morning, your partner says to you, good morning, you're not good enough. You wouldn't want to be with that person.
No, you would be gone on the first time.
Right? And nor would you have friends like that. Your friends, the people that you care about and that care about you, aren't in a constant conversation of needing you to be different so they can love you and they can accept you. So it's you learning to be that best friend to yourself. If you wouldn't treat a friend that way, don't treat yourself that way. If the conversation in your mind is not something you would say to a friend, then then it's beginning to notice that and say, oh, here's me, here's Juliana, and I'm saying unkind words to myself. Deep breath. Can I just let that go in this moment? Mm-hmm. So we're really being aware of the habitual conversation. The conversation is a habit. It's automatic. You wake up, the conversation does itself. You don't have to remind yourself every morning, oh, I need to disapprove of myself today. No, it just happens. Yeah. So unwanted habits are often just automatic, unconscious, and repetitive. They do themselves. So in order to change a habit that is unconscious, it just runs itself, we have to introduce consciousness, awareness, the witness in us that goes, oh, I'm doing this. I'm saying this to myself. Is that helpful? It's not. How do I change that in this moment? And so it's shortening the amount of time that we're in that conversation. So you'll still self-reject, but the question is, can we get it down from 12 hours a day to 6 hours a day? And then from 6 hours to 4. And then gradually we just got to get it down to maybe 20 minutes. And so it's gradually shortening the amount of time, but it's a practice. And it's really you on another level. I think it's you learning to stand by yourself and be an advocate for yourself, mm-hmm. and to befriend yourself. Absolutely.
Absolutely. I have a question. In these moments where I catch myself, where my awareness of what I'm doing is present, do I just catch myself, or do I need to replace the thought or this conversation that goes inside with something more positive? Or I just like, okay, I noticed.
Great question. So for me, yeah, first thing is to notice it. And if you can, it is extremely helpful to replace those thoughts with a new and more interesting one and a more generous one. I'm a beautiful woman. I love myself. I'm okay as I am. I accept myself as I am. And even if you don't 100% believe it, sometimes I don't know about your culture, but we have a saying here in the United States, fake it till you make it. Mm-hmm. And sometimes we just need to get the momentum going of giving ourselves positive affirmations. And because there's so many negative words that we can say to self, there's so much self-criticism and self-attack that it is so helpful to replace that. So I think it might be good for you to maybe do some journaling and just find some statements or affirmations that you can make to yourself that feel good to you, mm-hmm. that feel natural and feels like something that you want to say to yourself, that's positive and uplifting and mm-hmm. affirms that you're lovable as you are.
Okay.
Sometimes and so really it's about learning to harness the mind, because it's the mind that's adopted these beliefs. You didn't invent these beliefs. You didn't invent the belief called, I'm not lovable, I'm not acceptable, but if I lose weight, I will be. You didn't invent that. You inherited that from the world. Mm-hmm. And those beliefs, they're very viral. They're like an organism. They land inside of us and they do unkind things. They make us unwell. So the way to heal that, the way to transform that is to begin to harness the mind. Say, oh, okay, here's what my mind does automatically, but you know something? I'm going to jump in with consciousness. I'm going to notice when I do that. And then I'm going to replace those unkind words with generous thoughts, kind words. And that's literally a practice that you do every day. And you get better and better at it. It gets stronger. And then eventually you're going to get to a point where the majority of you starts to feel like, oh, I don't even want to go back to that old way of how I talk to myself. That's so painful. You don't even want to do it. But it takes a little time because you're unlearning something that you learned a long time ago. That's very powerful.
Yes, and that runs so automatically. And it's so important that you bring to me this awareness that this runs automatically on me. I had, of course, a previous awareness of that, but also about the world, part of the world running to the same way, because I was always looking, okay, maybe it's me, but I was looking to the world to find evidence of the same. And I can't find, because I'm not the only one who was brought up in this way. And now I can isolate and look also for evidence of the opposite, of people that are happy with themselves the way they are, and understand that it's also my contribution to this culture that I am not a victim of it anymore. So
well put, so well put. And it's very liberating, because now you're taking, it's you reclaiming your power, you owning yourself, and you saying to yourself and saying to the world at the same time that I approve of me. I'm not perfect. Nobody's perfect. You might think this person's perfect or that person's perfect. I've never found the perfect person. Mm-hmm. So nobody's perfect. And you're not going to find the perfect guy, and he's not going to find the perfect woman. And that's great. So now we can, accept each other's imperfections. And that's so much of what life is. That's so much of what relationship is about. that's so much what relationship with self is about. I think in this world is just learning to let go of the noise that we have to live up to some idea of perfection and just set ourselves free from that prison.
Yes. Yes. And finally live a life with more meaning, because just going on that cycle of trying to be something that is perfect and that doesn't exist and can't be achieved is a waste of life.
Yes.
Waste of energy. Yeah.
Absolutely. So you got it. And I know this is hard. I know it's not going to be easy, but I also, I firmly believe that you can do it and that you're ready to do it. And it's you really starting a whole new life.
Yes.
And I think it's going to be a really good one.
It's almost scary because I don't even know how that life looks like, but it's at the same time like so necessary. And if not now, then when, right? So
yes.
Thank you.
Juliana, thank you so much. This has been a wonderful conversation.
For me as well. Thanks to you for everything.
Yes, I really appreciate you being so willing and so real and so open. And I wish you all the good luck on your journey.
Thank you so much. And likewise.
Yes, thank you. And thanks everybody for tuning in. Take care.
Hey friends, we're so happy that you've joined us for another episode of The Psychology of Eating with Marc David. Are you loving these episodes? Then simply subscribe and you'll never miss an episode again. We'd also love it if you'd leave us a comment below so we can hear more about your own journey with food and body. And if you're curious about what we offer at the Institute for the Psychology of Eating, including our internationally acclaimed coach certification training that's rooted in dynamic eating psychology and mind-body nutrition, please head on over to our website, psychologyofeating.com. Until next time, take care. And remember, having the body you want starts with loving the body you have.